and I were had a 38-week appointment with the gynecologist up in Cork. We probably realised there was an issue when he had taken about 25 scans and he had called for a backup. Obviously I remember I'm getting very upset about it, you know. Sorry. So like it's obviously I suppose you just have to think the worst, you know what I mean? A couple of days later we went to Dublin and we met the senior lady up there who did the scans. So then we discovered, we heard of cystic hygroma for the first time, you know. Finally, the day of the birth of the delivery came, and Daniel was delivered around 11 o'clock. Now, Anne was obviously still, you know, in the recovery ward, and I went in to see Daniel. And obviously, it was fairly traumatic. So when he was born, like obviously there was. He was christened because they had asked us, you know, when he'd be born and what we were to call him. So one of the nurses christened him. We met a professor there who would be the head of the department there, and he felt there was nothing he could do for Daniel by way of surgery. The big good news he had for us is that there was another doctor who happened to be on holidays that week, Mr. Russell, and he was due back a week later, and he had been in America and he may have seen this. We had to pray that Daniel would survive for the week. The cyst started to bleed internally. It's not just a piece of tissue. It's also like fibres that are wrapped around all the organs. It's a really extensive surgery, and we had no idea whatsoever what was before us. When we finally met Mr. Russell, and he said to us that he was prepared to do surgery on him, and he'd be quite optimistic that he'd be able to reduce it at least and have him in such a way that he could live a normal life. If you were told this was going to happen before the 38 weeks, if we were told that, you'd just say, I can't cope or whatever. But like, it happens and you have to keep going because you've no choice. Like, at the end of the day, we have 2 other children and they wanted to see him. And obviously all his aunts and uncles wanted to see him, you know what I mean? So we got fantastic support from everybody, like Anne's family were amazing.
I was brought up in Puglia, which is down in southern Italy. All through my teens, I was dreaming of wanting to expand my horizons, and one day I had an opportunity of traveling. I came to London, and London has been my home for the past 40 years. I experienced isolation to the point that I began to feel excluded throughout my teens. I'm thankful that I discovered some incredible books that allowed me to mature in a way, because I was able to explore other people's identities and compare these identities to mine. I learned to appreciate the importance of human connection, support, and acceptance. I did not find the support I was looking for growing up, to the point that one day when the opportunity rose that I could leave my hometown I did. I often think, why did I come to London? Why couldn't I go to Paris or another European city? I chose England because England is an island, and it is here that I came looking for stability, for friends, a new beginning. I then realized how important good support was for me or anybody to be able to express themselves to their full potential. And so I really appreciate what it means to be loved, to be supported, to be valued.
You can have cystic hygroma anywhere in your body. It's more of an external condition rather than internal. Where Daniel had it, all his organs in his neck and everywhere were affected by it. The thing with Daniel is, Daniel has had the cyst since day one. Daniel was just one of the kids, and he did everything the same as, like, he played hurling, he played sports, he was on the trampoline, he did bouncy castles, he did everything the same. He has had times when people weren't very nice to him, but he has a really go-ahead attitude anyway. You know what I mean? He's one of those kids who, if it bothers you, it's your problem. It doesn't bother me. And he can cope with it that way. Now, like, there's been several occasions that people looked at him and pointed at him, which he didn't appreciate. But a few times it has annoyed me, especially with older kids, like talking about him. There'll be always one who will be leading the charge. Daniel and I would walk over to him and I'd say, well, this is Daniel, what's your name? And that puts him on the back foot. Nobody wants to be spoken about unkindly, you know what I mean? But to be fair to Daniel, he has a really, really good attitude to it.
I have great memories from the time I moved to London, and these are beautiful memories that give me the courage really to do the work that I do. The love that I receive from total strangers. When I came here, for a week or 2 weeks, I was walking through South Kensington, thinking that South Kensington was London, which no doubt was much bigger than the small little town I came from in southern Italy. It is in South Kensington that I met this couple that gave me so much love, gave me a roof over my head, made me feel appreciated. Never did they make me feel that I was an outsider. But their memory is with me. It does give me the strength to continue. It has given me strength all along. All these years have gone by. Honestly, what a contrast between the place I was brought up and the home I found in London, in this huge city. It is through this experience that I set up humanity.
So helpless, you know what I mean? You're putting your trust in the hands of the surgeon, you know what I mean? And while they're all trying to reassure you, but like inevitably, you know, you're going in for major surgery. He was in ICU and the line with the cross with no heartbeat. There was trolleys flying and falling over and nurses running in all over the place to give him CPR to get him back on track, you know what I mean? And like, obviously we were put out of the room immediately. That's a scary situation now when you see that, and it's just a bit mental for a couple of minutes, you know what I mean? But thankfully, you know, he always came good. And again, a second or third surgery, he got an infection in where the surgery was. He got an infection, and when the doctor left him, he was stable, but he deteriorated fairly rapidly subsequently. Mr. Russell, he was going down to the south of Ireland, and they ended up having to call the police to stop him and to get him to come back, which he did. And so he had to come back and do some further surgery, and kind of there was something had got poisoned in his in the area where the surgery was, and I'd been told to go down to Cork to get ring up his grandparents and the kids. wasn't looking good, you know. And anyway, I went down to Cork to collect the kids, and Mr. Russell, he did surgery on him. And I didn't get back then, so that was maybe in the late evening, maybe 7 or 8 o'clock. And I didn't get back from Cork until about 12 or 1. And when we came back to the room, he was sitting up eating yogurt after he'd been told that he could be dead, you know what I mean? So
I met Daniel Maloney last August at a time when unfortunately I was going through a rather difficult period when suicide ideation was much present in my life. There are times when you don't even know why you get into a dark corner, but I was once again questioning the value of life. I felt, despite all of the projects and the work that I'd done for humanity, I questioned myself as to whether all of this was worth anything. When you do come from a background where you've experienced some hardships, it doesn't take much for people to say the wrong thing to you and destabilize you. And then I bumped into Daniel Maloney, and I had to really do a double take because Daniel had a facial disfigurement. A cyst is protruding out of his face and neck. This is a young man that is working on a building site, zooming between places, as if really there's no issue. So when I saw Daniel walking around with the confidence, the dignity that everyone should have, must have, gave me some food for thought. I realized that, hold on a moment, what I am experiencing is nothing in comparison to what this young guy must have gone through. So I wanted to meet him, and I approached Daniel. I told him about the charity, and through speaking to him and through meeting his father, William Maloney, afterwards, I realized that friendship had to be the name of my next project. It made me realize the power of love and support, because William is the driving force. William is the doting, devoted father that will do anything for his son. And that's what really is important in all of us, to be able to feel nurtured, to feel loved. We need somebody to tell us, don't worry, darling, you'll be all right. Never mind about the fact that, your hair doesn't look right today, or you have a protruding mass. This is how you are. And so who's got the problem is not the person with the facial disfigurement, but society. Let them exist as they are.
Look, I don't have to go any further than Angelo, you know what I mean? He met him once on the street down in Bayswater, and he did make an impression on him, and hence we're here, basically, you know what I mean?
I don't know how William Maloney felt when he learned that his son was going to be born with the cystic hygroma. But looking at William with his son gives me the certainty that something wonderful must have developed as love between father and son. And this is what I want to find out with this work that we're doing.
All I can say is that, look, we get on really, really well, and I admire him so much for all he's been through, and to be fair to him, he never complains, you know what I mean? Look, we've met just lots of people who've been really kind to us, and I feel so grateful to Daniel for that, because he makes such an impression on so many people. We've met people on just once, and I've got complimented, oh, he's such a wonderful young man.
So tell me, Daniel, do you see yourself as being inspirational to others?
Well, I really, really want to be because if I can change from the way I was, maybe I could inspire other people to do anything. To just, if maybe someone was like me, maybe I could inspire them to change the way they are and for the better.
But you do know that you have been truly inspirational to me personally, and you have helped me more than you think.
And if I can do more, then that's all I really want to do.
To me, you truly are unique, but I do know that you would like the cystic hygroma removed at some point.
Yeah.
And I understand the medical reasons as to why you must have this removed, because it is pressing on your windpipe.
Well,
it makes it difficult for you to breathe. You want the tracheostomy out.
yeah, there is that, but maybe not necessarily. Like, I can still breathe with it just fine. Like, if I would take it off right now, like, I breathe, no problem. Like, I lived with it for, like, 22 years, and so, yeah, obviously, like, adjusting to it isn't the easiest thing ever, but once you actually do just get accustomed to the way it does, you get a lot easier.
When you go out, people look at you,
Yeah.
and your face is speaking before you can actually say
Yeah,
anything.
exactly. Yeah, but occasionally, usually when that happens, I'll immediately try and just maybe wave to the person and just say that, like, hey, I'm not like that different. Like, you don't have to look at me or treat me any differently to anyone else. And like, I still act like a normal person, so you don't have to look at me like I'm that different.
You know that another hero here is your father, your dad. Your father has been incredibly supportive from the day you were born, like any good father would.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about him?
I've always viewed him as the biggest person in the world. I can always rely on, and always, he's never let me down. He's always been in full support of me, and he's always there when I need someone to talk to, or if I'm feeling stressed about something. He's always the number one person I turn to talk to about these things, and yeah, I just feel like he's just the biggest the number one person in the world I can try.
Would you say that Dad is your best friend then?
Well,
You have to think about it.
I don't know. I don't know if I go that far, but but yeah, but we get along really well, and yeah, one of my best friends ever, and but yeah, I'm glad to always have him on my side, and I would never want that to change.
When I met Daniel for the first time and I spoke to him, I realized how each and every one of us is like Daniel. Because all of us have something inside us or outside us that needs attention. And it is a matter of having a conscience and becoming acquainted with what your disfigurement is, whether it is a protruding cystic hygroma or a cancer, or it is a mental disability, whatever it is, we all have one. But there you have a young man is able to get out there on a building site, earning his money to be able to pay for university. This is what gave me the strength to go on. And there are parallels between Daniel Maloney's story and mine, I suppose. I can only imagine the level of bullying and unkindness Daniel must have experienced growing up, much in the same way I was bullied. What is paradoxical is that we all want to be different, don't we? So we choose up different clothes, different hairstyles, but yet the moment you become a bit more different, people say, no, you don't fit in. You've got to go under the knife to have an operation so that your face can be exactly the same as the person next door. I am in two minds as to whether this is what Daniel should do. Should he go under the knife to fit society's expectations? I know for a fact that in my case, I was asked once to change my voice. I was asked to walk in a different way and wear certain clothes. So, I mean, what about being your real self?
Well, right, you play clean. And remember, to finish on school time, check this.
To present the belt tonight, we had this absolutely amazing young man, Daniel Maloney, who has had over 30 operations to remove the cyst from his face. As a young boy, Daniel has had face bullying, and he has been judged throughout his life on the way he looks. Daniel was a true warrior. Let's give him a massive service challenge, round of applause, and wish him a huge success with his operation. Ladies and gentlemen, Daniel Maloney! Absolute warrior tonight, you are absolute warrior. Close to the seven, come on! And again, time to seven, come on, give it up!
It's not a question that they're going to be able to, we'll call it, fix him, for the want of a better word, and that he is like that he never had it. He never had cystic hygroma. That's not going to happen. But what Daniel would like to do, what I want to do, because he wants it, is to try and reduce what's remaining as much as possible. And in time, if it was possible, then we would remove the tracheostomy. But the tracheostomy is no guarantee about that. That's not a definite that that's going to go. He has the cyst in the back of his throat area, and as Mr. Russell and several people have said, that's his insurance policy, because if he gets a throat infection, his throat could swell up and he would choke, basically.
Daniel wants to have his own voice, and the problem that he's been having all of these years is that his face has been speaking for him all of this time. It's a face that has been shouting at people.
The removal of the tracheostomy is a very big decision. That's ultimately his decision, but it's a very big decision, and at the moment it's not on the menu. The removal of the remainder of the cyst is possible, but as I said, it's not a guarantee that he's not going to look as if he never had it. And I made all the decisions for Daniel up till this particular one. But this one is Daniel's decision, and we were told that the day we met the two surgeons in Dublin, is that Daniel is now 21, Daniel is the patient, and they're taking advice from him.
Traveling to Cork so I can finally get to meet Daniel and William's family. It'll be very interesting for me to get to know everyone, but also to learn about Daniel's background and where he was brought up. his school, his friends. It'll be interesting to see the parallels between Daniel's life and mine.
We've obviously brought him to Ireland because it is such a contrast from London. We're from a more rural background, you know, obviously out in Knockanore and in the real heart of the country, you know what I mean?
It was wonderful driving to William's house and meeting his mother and brother and sisters. It was an incredible welcome, and for someone who comes from southern Italy, it reminded me of home. I just enjoyed being with the family. Taking a walk from the farm, I found myself in this beautiful, idyllic spot. I cannot possibly imagine a place as tranquil, just as in fact Daniel is, and this is where Daniel was born, and this is his land, and it is incredibly evocative of Daniel's own personality. The family has been incredibly welcoming. This is the kind of welcome that I was hoping I would receive. I feel totally chuffed that I've been accepted. Well, I'd like to give a little gift to William's mum and Daniel's grandmother.
Yes.
This is for you. It's a small gift from my region in southern Italy. And
You're very kind. For heaven's sake, there was no need to bring me any
well, I
gift.
got you a little Puglia in a box.
Yes, well, we'll see what that is. That's a nice
There is a
thing, though,
lid
isn't
there.
it? It's real pottery.
Yes,
Is it
and it's all hand decorated.
hand painted? Yeah. Ah, lovely. Oh my dear, that's a very nice thing.
I find this city very similar to the one I was born in. Yet they are incredibly different cities, but the sense of history and all the monuments that I've visited so far, they do remind me of my place back home. It's quite remarkable. I can't explain it. It has a nice feeling about it. I feel incredibly at peace here. This house holds a special place in your heart because this is the house where Daniel came home from the hospital the very first time, was born, and this is the house where the several operations took place in the course of a number of years. And was this a happy home?
Oh yeah, Ash, we had great times because like Daniel, he became a bit of a celebrity, you know what I mean, in his own right. It's amazing how people that you don't know would just, you know, initially he was in the buggy and then he was in a walker, and suddenly he was walking along with me, or I was carrying him in a lot of occasions, you know what I mean. We had some great times and we had a lovely garden out the back there, and you know, every birthday was marked with all his cousins came into it to see him, and so that was always good fun, you know what I mean. So we were fortunate that we had some brilliant times here, you know what I mean, over the years, you know.
So this is the house, the street where you were brought up? Any happy memories?
And different family memories where all five of us were together here, or just, yeah, like all the different Christmases and different holidays and just other occasions like that were really nice, and and a nice look back on, and just have to think about and all that.
So now that you live in London and you come to visit here, don't you miss this beautiful?
Yeah, like in London there's more to do, like there's just more places to go to because like obviously it's bigger, but I don't think it's as good as here.
Daniel and William wanted to tell me more about the family history. I was taken on a beautiful walk down to a river, and it was here that the tragedy occurred with the drowning of a young family member, 8-year-old Margaret Maloney. This affected everyone badly. The family marks the anniversary with a ceremony of remembrance every year.
She was just only 8 years of age, and she was just sitting here, and there was a pier here at the time, and she was sitting on it. And look, you know, I believe one of the stories is that they were having an apple to eat, and the apple fell in the water, and she reached out to get it and fell over. And because of she was wearing a dress with I can't think of a flannel dress, I think it's called, and there was a lot of layers in it, and the air in it held her up in the water initially. Tide was falling at the time, and it had dragged her out into the middle of the water, but unfortunately the weight of the dress, it sucked her down. Like my grandfather was never the same after it, as nobody would be, you know. And my dad, if he heard you going down to the river, he used to be afraid of his life. He said, you know, he was so nervous of it because he was obviously present when this happened, and that's not something you'd forget in a hurry, you know. We all, you know, just got this put up to us a little, just to mark the occasion, you know. The one thing you'd be guaranteed of happening when you'd arrive at the beach is that everything you'd have, including clothes, hair, ears, tracheostomies and everything, would be full of sand. There is a story. The kids were playing with a canoe and he fell off into the water. There was some skirmish to rescue Daniel then, because obviously of the tracheostomy. There was some panic for a second to pull him out of the water, but anyway, he lived to fight another day anyway, you know. Look, there's some lovely memories of us all being here and, you know, playing football and playing hurling and stuff on the beach, and of course I'm making sandcastles, you know, and they used to try to bury me, etc., you know what I mean, in the sand, which was always a bit of an experience.
It was a practice trial.
No, there was times and it was challenging because there was a lot of uncertainty, I suppose, really, and also we didn't understand the condition, you know. But now, look, just 23 years later almost, and I can see how well he's getting on with his own life, and, you know, that he's starting work and all this now. And look, we don't often get this kind of opportunity to spend a bit of time together.
Daniel, did you make any friends at this school?
And I please not talk about that, please. During my last year here, basically my teachers just weren't treating me the best, and so I actually do remember the day all that started happening. My mom came to collect me like she always did, and when we came out, as we were walking out of the car, I just told her about the day I had, and just about something that happened with me and my teacher, And when that happened, she got like really annoyed and angry about that. So she actually came in to talk to my teacher, and they all just kind of my mom just kind of came to a consensus that my teacher just wasn't being very nice and all that. So around November, we just decided that I just wasn't gonna go here anymore.
I find this location remarkably similar to Puglia because of the many farms dotted around the region, and this is exactly how you would see Puglia when you visit. The only difference, the vegetation here is incredibly lush, whereas in Puglia the climate is very sunny. We are in the middle of summer now. The landscape will look dramatically different to this. The people of County Cork, the Irish people, are incredibly hospitable as the people from Puglia, and I'm sure I'll be able to reciprocate the kindness that I've received here.
To go over London Irish, where they're fighting against what? Dad's been a sportsman his whole life. My dad just likes having me at company. So long as it makes him happy, I'm okay with going, even if I don't really care.
Look, we don't get that many opportunities to do stuff together, and he'd be as happy at home. But look, it just gets him out, and we've met some really nice people when you're out there as well. And the funny thing is, when stuff happens, like get scores and stuff, he does.
He lies.
No, I've seen him in action. Yeah, he gets excited, you know. But he's very vocal.
You'll be surprised.
That eventually you will be looking for a place of your own. How would you feel about moving out here?
Nervous but also kind of right. For my whole life, I've sort of had a sense of insecurity, but over the past few years, I've really been trying my best to build that security in myself and making myself feel like I could handle things in my life all by myself. So at the moment, maybe not 100%, but again, when it does happen, I feel like I will be ready to be able to do it properly.
You are a great young man. What do you think are your strengths and weaknesses?
Okay, and I always try to be creative. I always try to be as friendly and kind as I can be. Like, sometimes maybe that might not always be the case, but more often than not, I'll always try my best to do that, really. And as for my weaknesses, I would say I'm not really the brightest person around. Like, there are a lot of things that I'm very unsure of about myself. That I feel like I have a bit of a naive insight to myself where maybe I'm not entirely sure of the world around me 100%.
Do you have a message for people that are going through a challenging time that could inspire them?
Always look to the future and always remind yourself that you do have people in your life who will want to be your friends, who will want to support you, and just that yes, even though there are always dark times in our lives, we should just look to the future and just be aware of everyone in your life because they will be there for you.
We are in Puglia, southeast of Italy, and this is my new home. I moved here after 40 years in London, just needed a bit of space, which I got here. I very much enjoy looking after the garden and vegetables, something I was never able to do in London because I lived in a flat. So now I live in a house, and I have a small dog that came with me from London, and I find being here highly therapeutic. I'm detoxing myself by looking after the veg garden. There are artichokes there, lovely chickens, fresh eggs in the morning, fresh fruit. I mean, what else would I want? I even have a well for the dry season coming up in August. I'm grateful that I've been able to come back to Puglia, to the things that really I love the most. These are the plants and trees that represent my childhood. My father had similar trees and plants, but I was never able to enjoy them because I left in a hurry, sort of thing, and went to London, where I stayed for 40 years. So now I've come back. I want to make up for lost times. I've been very keen to take Daniel to Puglia to show him the places where I grew up. So I look forward to taking around places that I may have not been to visit for a very long time myself.
I've heard about Italy for a long time, but it's a very, very famous place of the world, so it'll be nice to just be able to explore.
We're looking forward to seeing all the places that meant so much to him during his childhood.
Hello, well,
Because I have done a bit of research before we came over, and I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the sites that he's promised to take us to.
I love William. He truly is the unsung hero of the story. To see a father look after Daniel the way he does, unconditionally, from such a young age, is so beautiful, inspiring. I am grateful that he came to Puglia, to my house, because I was able to deliver a little speech to remind everybody what love is. Paternal love is. My charity handed over a little plaque to William as a memento of his courage and generosity. This is from humanity to you.
Oh my goodness.
And it's for your courage. And I'm not going to cry because otherwise I'm going to spoil my makeup. choir boy here. I hated churches. I hated dogmas even as a young child. Nothing made sense to me about the martyrs especially. There are a lot of blood in churches, paintings and sculptures depicting women with their breasts amputated, women with their eyes gouged out. My parents never forced me to go to church, but my peers and their families kind of put pressure on me to go to church because all the other kids did. 6 years old when I first came to this school. I left by the time I was 11. This is exactly how it was back then. I have very fond memories of the school. I met some wonderful kids. There was a sense of fraternity amongst us children. And the first year was just wonderful. We had a lovely teacher, incredibly motherly, really like a teacher should be, you know. And but then on the second year, I was 7 years old, a new teacher came, and he was an older gentleman, incredibly strict, and he used this stick right on his desk in full view of the class. And that was a kind of a sign that we had to stick to what the rules were. And the rules were that we had to be doing our homework, and if we failed, he would punish us. So we had to show the palm of our hand and clap. He would use the stick to hit us with. I could not comprehend how this teacher could be allowed to hit children the way that he did. So I told my father, and he said exactly what the teacher had said, that it was for my good, my own good, that the teacher would teach me to be respectful, to be doing my homework on time, because that's what life is about. I was so scared of this teacher that every time I saw him in the street after I'd left school, I wanted to approach him to say how his teaching method had not worked on me. Whenever he punished us, he really hit us. He said, I'm doing this for your own good, because one day you're going to come to me and you're going to thank me for me hitting you. I could not comprehend this because I was so unwell every day that my father had to take me to the local cafe or the pastry shop to give me treats before taking me to school. And that's something I couldn't comprehend either, that my father would abandon me and leave me with this monster of a teacher, because to me, that's exactly what he was. Daniel, if you saw the teacher who hadn't been particularly nice to you in your old school, what would you say to her? It's okay, Daniel.
Oh, I've been very impressed with the whole place. I mean, so lucky with the weather here. It's beautifully sunny and warm without being too hot. He's just like going around with the local president of the city, because everybody seems to know him and you can feel the warmth everybody has towards him, you know. We're so lucky to have met him. He's such a kind and generous person. We're from a more rural background, you know, obviously out in Knockanore, in the real heart of the country, you know what I mean? And I'm really looking forward to seeing some of the sites that he's promised to take us to.
Alberobello is a bit of a departure from the beautiful fields that we saw in Ireland, don't you think?
Yeah, I guess it's more uniquely shaped and more uniquely designed, like in terms of how everything is shaped, and I guess the material that's used for the buildings as well, and it just seems like a total departure from Ireland and things like that.
I wanted to show Daniel the culture of Puglia, and I think Alberobello has got this unique site, which is UNESCO protected. These beautiful cone-shaped houses that were built quite a long time ago. And I think it's quite a bit of a departure from the fields that we saw together in Ireland. It's cementing our friendship, and it is also nice to share the heritage of where we come from.
Proper houses we saw today, the cone-shaped roofs and stuff, it's so different to anything we have in Ireland. Until this trip, I never even knew about that UNESCO site. So it was absolutely brilliant to see it, because being from a construction background myself, I'm very interested in all that type of architecture and how people even did that. Whereas even now, those types of buildings would be difficult, not to mind when they were built.
Meeting Daniel allowed me to understand how important it is to seize that moment, because I was going through a terrible time, and I don't know what would have happened to me had I not met Daniel, had I not had the courage to say, "Excuse me, what's your name?"
Like when I first met him, I never even thought I'd hear from him again.
Started off in a very unusual kind of way, how he was looking out his window at work one day and he saw Daniel just working across the street. He obviously observed him for a little while, and he could see the kind of a person he is, that he was trying to get on with life.
We do need to learn about others. We must not stop learning. This is what had happened to me until I'd met Daniel. I had got into this tunnel, depression, and I could not find a way out. And Daniel was that light. He allowed me to look at courage and strength right in the face.
He's such a kind and generous person. Obviously had his own issues when he was a child himself. He felt, as if he had a kind of difficult enough kind of upbringing.
I don't have a best of luck when it comes to finding people who have been common interest in me, and even if Angelo and I don't necessarily have that many things in common, we do just get along really great. I guess technically, like from when we first met, my dad and I got the impression that he was really a really nice, lovely man, and yeah, like he proved that so many times ever since we first met. He's also been very supportive about my treatment as well, about my race and all that.
Since we met him, he's been just such a great influence on us all, and including myself. He's made me think about life and about doing things differently,
I often ask myself whether I have changed at all in the 40 years I spent in London. I know that I've come here with quite a bit of experience, life experience. I would like to think that I've become more open-minded and more accepting and forgiving of myself. I'm hoping that my experiences and whatever I take back with me from London may benefit somebody, and also that I may benefit from the experience of the locals that have also matured here for the past 40 years.
He just gives out this aura of, like, let's help people if we can, and not being judgmental, and just being so understanding of of difference and diversity and the whole thing. These are things that only a few years ago I didn't even understand.
We've seen kind of the environment we ever had to grow up in, and yeah, we both still explained what it was like growing up and with our childhood, you know.
I do not know about my journey, where the journey will take me next, or where the journey will end. All I know is this is my contribution, something that I hope is important for somebody. I hope that the stories that we will be sharing with others may help others in some way, that may provide some encouragement, some courage, but certainly give a sense of dignity to people.